Hi guys, welcome back to the podcast. Today we are super excited to have Clare Rafferty and Emma Kirk-Odunubi with us. Got that right? Got that right. I'm getting better at pronouncing people's names now. We're going to call them the power couple of Hyrox and running analysis. Super hyped to have made this happen and get you guys on the podcast because I know we've been chatting for a while. Between you girls, you just have so much experience, so much knowledge and expertise. Emma as a sports scientist and running ninja, and Claire as a Hyrox master trainer and a race director. So we know this is going to be a banger of an episode. We don't know where we're going to go, and we probably won't be able to tap into all your knowledge, but thank you for joining us. We appreciate it.
Good to be here. Thanks for having us, guys.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Oh, no, we really appreciate your time. Firstly, maybe I want to start off with you, Claire, and kind of how you have ended up in this Hyrox world, because you've kind of exploded into it. You've thrown yourself in the deep end. You're doing everything, and it's amazing to see. But where did it first start off for you?
It's one of those questions, right? Does anyone actually know how they ended up in Hyrox? Like, you look at your Instagram feed now, and it's like, if it's not someone doing wall balls or the latest running tip or the best fuel for this, that, and the next thing, like, what did I do before that? Like, what did I do before that? Do you know? So yeah, I've been in the fitness industry now since 2013. So it wasn't like I was like brand new in the fitness industry and launched straight into Hyrox, and very much came from like bodybuilding, strength and conditioning, sports coaching, performance background. So coached at Stirling University, ran all the netball teams there, and also was doing like S&C for football, women's rugby, and a couple of other sports. So like was very much in that sport performance space, and then kind of drifted apart from it. Like you have two choices. You work in at the Institute of Sport, which there's absolutely no money, or you go and start up your own PT business, which you can make a lot more money from. So I very much started my own PT business and drifted apart from it. Got to London, great place to PT, great clients, but there's not a lot of people doing sport and performance in that kind of space. So was very much in the bodybuilding world and going with the masses, I suppose is the way to say it, because you're struggling to find your feet. And then COVID happened, 2020. My mental health took an absolute nosedive. I was training with kettlebells and dumbbells at home and needed to get out of my flat. I was living by myself. It was really quite dark. So I took up running and fell in love with running. Things started to open up. Got introduced to this one who apparently really likes to run. Don't know if you know that.
I didn't know that, but we can cover that in a minute.
Literally, like with that time where like I was like, do I get an Uber to where you live or do I just run? So I would just like run to where she lived so I could see her, and that's how I did my first half marathon. Like,
And got lost, may I add?
yeah, that's why it was a half.
Is that why it ended up? Yeah, that's why it ended up a half marathon. Was it meant to be a 5K?
I am the most geographically challenged person, and I would like to meet someone as geographically challenged as me because it would make me feel better in my life.
Oh, meet Emma.
Yeah,
me. Emma, meet Claire.
Honestly, so brutal. So yeah, it was meant to be like 16K, ended up 22. Like, yeah, honestly, in the snow, it was horrendous. Anyway, somehow I fell in love with running. Friend in the same kind of friendship group when I met you, she was like, oh, you're quite new at running. I'm quite new at running. I've got this PR ticket to do this thing called Hyrox. Do you want to do it? And I was like, oh yeah, like us new runners, like let's go give it a banter. I think we did it in like 1:11. Like first race, like didn't have a clue what we were doing. I was recording her the whole way round, and she was recording me the whole way round. Like it was just absolute chaos back in 2021. However, finished the race and was like, this is what I've been missing. Like this is that perfect combination of my bread and butter from university, what I was really interested in, like how you can now actually deliver that to people and everyday people getting involved in performance sport, and it perfectly just tied everything together. So yeah, from there I pretty much became an ambassador in 2021. You became an ambassador as well, same year, and we've just lent in everything, every opportunity that's come our way with the brand. We've just said yes, say yes and figure it out later. And that's literally what happened. Like, I'd get a call on the Thursday, can you come and help out at Olympia? By the way, you need to be there tomorrow at 10. I remember like literally phoning all my friends and being like, all weekend plans are cancelled. like moving all my calls for like the next 5 days. I think we had like big plans that weekend, and I was like, yeah, I'm out, I'm done, I'm saying yes to this. And I said yes, and then it's where we are now because I just said yes.
Yeah, it's like, but it's almost like you knew, like you had the passion for it, and you could feel that it's like, this is what I've been missing, or this is what I've been looking for. So like, instead of, I guess, being scared of it and thinking, oh, but it's new and I don't know what's going on, I'm just gonna go for it, like, and see what happens.
Yeah, because what is say yes and figure it out later is literally like live by it.
Yeah.
And if it all goes on fire, the worst thing that will happen is you'll be where you are right now.
Yeah.
And that's such good. Yeah, you never regret the choice you take, do you? You only regret what you didn't do. Like, you'll never regret something you do because you either learn that it's not for you, or it didn't work, or you're back where you started. So
yeah, exactly.
So true. Back on that, like not regretting it, when we did it in 2022, again, it was still small, and we qualified for world champs, and then it was in Vegas, and we were like, shall we? Is it, or are we going to do Vegas? Are we? And then we literally like, are we ever going to get to go to the world championships of an event like this in Las Vegas and then go to a pool party afterwards with David Guetta? I don't think we are. So that was one of those things we were like, yeah, let's go. Let's just go to Vegas. So yeah, it was say yes.
Yeah, absolutely. And then what about you, Emma? Where has the running always been just a part of your life? Have you always loved it and forced it upon other people? No, I'm joking. You haven't forced it on Claire, but
no, I think I always say, like, as a kid, I wasn't that kid that didn't like PE. I was the kid that like adored it. So when I was a child, my mom threw me into all the activities just because I was a very hyperactive kid. So everything from trampolining to table tennis to ballet, which I lasted one day, to like all these other things, I was like trying. And I wanted to join a running club when I first joined school, and you had to be 7 and I was 4. So I had to wait like 3 years to join the run club. I was one of the only girls. And and then kind of ran a little bit then when I was younger. And then in my natural demeanor to like trying all of loads of things, I was at a running track and I was like, oh, they're throwing something over there. What's that? And did it at school and threw discus and shot further than all of the boys. And I was like, well, I like this.
Yeah.
So then I competed for my county and for Brighton Hove Athletics and Sussex for like 4 to 5 years, competed nationally in discus and shot. Did it at university as well, intertwined with netball, so was training like 8-9 times a week, doing all the things. And then coming out of university, realizing, one, I can't really hold down a job and go and throw a metal implement at the track and then come back again. It wasn't as easy as being in like university setting. And the other thing as well, so when I was 19, I lost my dad to a brain tumor when I was at university. And coming away from the university space, I kind of lost my head, like lost that ability to kind of just, we'll just shut it out. So I'm at university, and running saved me. Running was that thing that I could kind of focus myself on getting up and getting out. So if I ran, I'd make sure I'd eat. If I ran, I made sure I went and showered, and I made sure I actually looked after myself because of running. So like for me, it's got kind of a place that I love it because of what it does and what it does in terms of community and building. But for me, it came from very much a place of, it actually saved me and brought me back to myself. And then, the other side of it is that when I was 13, the first Saturday job that I got because I wanted some money was one of the owners of a shop called the Jog Shop came to me on the track and said, Emma, do you want to earn some money on a Saturday? And I said, yes, I do. And it was working in a trainer shop. So I learned all about trainers and footwear from the age of 13, and then kind of led up that sports science trainer side, the other side of it.
She's the foot wizard.
and so in the middle. And basically, obviously lockdown, all the running, all the training, got this one into running, met this one. And it was when you came back from doing that event in 2021, and was like, so this is what we're doing next year. I was like,
yeah, but it like goes together so well. And like, I mean, touching on what you just said before, I think so many people relate to like running helping them through, whether it's after someone's passed or a difficult time or COVID, or I think so many people have got the same kind of experience in that way, that they use it to escape or to give them a reason to get up in the morning. So it's nice to hear that like people in the profession are also like the same, it's very relatable. So thanks for sharing that. But I definitely think, the two together, the strength and conditioning and the running, it's like the perfect match for Hyrox. Like you couldn't get anything more perfect. So tell us a little bit about what you're doing now, kind of going forward then. You've got your training programs, and how can like people find you to fit into the community and that sort of thing?
So obviously right now I am working part of the master team and then like race director. So I think we kind of touched on that at the start. And then I run my own online coaching business. Still coach a little bit for a company called Third Space in London, but just very, very bare minimum at this point for me. Love still being in and around people, and love still coaching classes, and like need that social interaction. Like my cup is filled up by the energy of other people, so need to still have that dip in for sure, and can't be fully running the online. But I pretty much made the switch this year to online and race directing / doing stuff for Hyrox. So my whole business now is coaching. It's taking people through their first race. It's helping people get their first sub 90. I've got a few people this year, really dialing in, stepping up to world champs. So it's just like the levels of the business. Like I started very much Gen Pop. And just getting more and more people coming in that are wanting to get involved for the first time. So got some one-off plans, got one-to-one coaching, and just really building a good team, like starting to do some events in person off the back of that. We've got our second year running our training camp now. So we do a training camp out in Club La Santa in September, October time. So we're taking 20 athletes out there in October, which is really cool. But it's just been absolutely Hyrox everything. Like it really has taken over life.
Oh, Hyrox whirlwind. So do you have some tips for people listening? Maybe Emma, we could start on the running side. I know everyone always just wants to find out more, take in as much information and knowledge as they can, and I think if we don't ask you for a few tips, then they'd be very disappointed in us. So go for it.
So I think running wise, so my background from like a coaching perspective is marathons. So I coach a lot of pretty much marathon runners. So it's, springtime leading up to London. So there's like all the big races that end. And I think one thing that Hyroxers can take from the marathon space is, and they probably heard it all the time, but is your easy long runs. Your slow, steady, conversational, catching up with a mate, 90 minutes, if you can, push it up to 2 hours, where you're just able to run and have a conversation. Like, don't worry about how far you're going, the time on the clock. I think it's one of the most, yes, okay, it's great that we're seeing all these amazing times in Hyrox and all these things, and people sharing all of their interval splits for 1Ks, and it's like, oh my gosh, that's so fast. Great, but actually, to run that fast, you have to run slow. So like I say, I use myself as an example. I ran the London 10K yesterday and equaled my PB, which blew my mind. Didn't know that was going to happen. My average split was 4:45. I ran all of my long slow runs for the last 2 months, somewhere between 6:35 and 7 minutes 15 per K. So to be able to maintain that top end, don't get me wrong, one session a week has always been pushing beyond that pace. But to get that, I have to have a base of the slow, boring stuff. And it's the things that people don't want to do. So for me, that was one of the biggest advice pieces that I can give to any Hyroxer is run slow to run fast.
I really like the slow runs, but I don't know. Like some people don't like it. I quite like the fact I can have a conversation, not blowing out my ass. But so Emma, just before, I know you've just given that bit of information, but like, are you guys working together now? Are you running your separate like running stuff? Are you doing some stuff together and Claire's doing a Hyrox stuff? Like, I know you both work at third space. Like, I can't keep up with you guys. I mean, I think you must be the two most like hardworking guys on Instagram. I'm like, God, they've been like here, there, everywhere. They're up at 5, they're back at 9. They're like, I'm like, God, I'm tired of watching your
But you know what?
Instagrams.
It's that place, and we actually had a conversation about it over the weekend, is that like, obviously a lot of what Claire does is very Hyrox, whereas I'm still very much in like marathon space and marathon world. But then once that's like end of marathon season, then dips into the end of Hyrox season. So there's kind of mixing of a lot of my focus is, yes, I still teach at third space as well. A few more classes than Claire. I'm like 10, 12 a week, all treadmills. So I still do a big amount of in-person coaching, but there's that element of we always what's the word I'm looking for?
Yeah, we bounce ideas off each other
all the time.
Okay. Yeah. I can
Especially,
imagine like your dinner times are just like wild.
yeah, especially like I think with clients and stuff, like I always say to clients when I'm onboarding them, look, like my running experience is this, this, and this. This is my strength experience. This is where I can get you for Hyrox. But if ever there is something more from like an injury perspective, or you know, you're putting down times that I'm like, okay, how do we improve this person? I was like, I'm always going to bring Emma in. And that's where there's that that kind of fluidity in it, because I am not an injury specialist. I don't know the most about gait, and there was a time there I was like, oh, I'm going to go to this biomechanics course and I'm going to learn about it and I'm going to invest and I'm going to spend, you know, I think it's like months in this course and blah blah blah. And I was like, no, actually focus on what I'm good at, and when I need help there, just ask Emma. And it's that like learning, you don't need to be able to do everything, and having that bounce off of each other to be able to help and support each other is really massive. Like I help you more with the back end stuff, and it's a good compliment.
Definitely.
Yeah,
as we move forwards, like it's something that, as I say, we had conversations about, like, you know, merging and having that potential where we become one unit, and you have a marathon portion of that and running specific, and then the Hyrox portion of that, and then, you know, there is potential for that for growth as a in that section. But yeah, it's always nice to bounce off and just even just chatting about clients. If we've had a client that's worked in one way versus another, and I know that she's had a client that's had a similar background, and then it's just such a nice, to be able to have that kind of coaching relationship almost as well as our relationship.
Yeah, totally. I think it definitely shows. I think you're right. I think you can't be an SME at everything. You can't be an expert at everything. Otherwise you just become mediocre at everything. So you guys having your like expertise and being able to work together it's pretty cool to be able to do that. And then sorry, jumping back to your question now, and we'll finish it off. But like, Claire, do you have, as obviously the Hyrox ninja, like what would your piece of advice be to either someone that's just new to it, or someone that maybe is stuck in that rut of not being able to beat their PB and they're obviously really trying to get there? Do you have any advice as a master?
It's a pretty controversial piece of advice though, and
love it.
It's
throw it out there.
Yeah, and it's through my own experience. It is purely through my own experience. So I'll give you context on this first before I give you my advice, just because it's like proof is in the pudding, and it's not one size fits all, and not everything works for everyone. But the reality is this time last year, I was training for my first Ironman. Didn't know how to swim, taught spin classes for years, wasn't an outdoor bike person, could run, right? We know I could run.
By the way, can I just say, says could run, has a 20-minute 5K PB from back in the day. So definitely
definitely could run. Yeah.
Can run. Just not quite there right now, but let's not get into that. So I was training for my Ironman. So I was very much like spending hours every week running, swimming, and cycling. I was trying to do a little bit of strength here and there. My strength was massively dropping, and like in hindsight, I would have done more strength, but there's only enough hours in the day. And I basically rocked up to Hyrox Copenhagen, and I ran an 11-minute PB. I hadn't done a burpee, a wall ball. I hadn't done anything Hyrox in over 6 months at this point. All I've been doing was running and cycling. And I went from a 124 to a 113. And I was like, cool. So I just had to get fitter. It's as simple as that. I just had to get fitter. Your body doesn't know whether you are doing wall balls or whether you are running. Your body doesn't know whether you are doing swimming or whether you're going for a walk. Like the modalities, it doesn't matter. It's very much about heart rate and it's very much about training intensity. And once you've built the different intensity factors and the different zones and you understand where to push and what that push looks like, you could make me do burpees, you can make me do a wobble. As long as my body knows that heart rate intensity, I'll be able to get there. And that was very much like a process that I was having to learn. So I went on, I did that. We then ran Paris the week after the marathon.
Yeah.
Wasn't our finest race the week after the marathon, but again, still ran it in, I think we ran it in the same time. It was like a 1:11 or something.
Yeah, same time as we did at World Champs.
It was like a 1:11. We ran doubles like 2 weeks after the marathon. But again, after I came out of, Ironman prep in May, I went straight into marathon prep. And so by the time we ran the 1:11, I hadn't touched a Hyrox skill in 12 months. Do you know?
Yeah, wow.
And it's what I'm saying, it's a controversial, as someone who is the Hyrox master trainer, it is controversial because I love it and I love celebrating it in the community of it, but it's so much more than wall balls and sled pushes and burpees. It's a training lifestyle, and it's more about the community and the celebrating and doing the event and getting the PBs. And the best way to get the PBs is to build a bigger engine and to build a better heart rate variability. And how you get there, it doesn't matter. But if you can get there, that's what's going to propel you forwards.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think it's also what you enjoy or what you've got the motivation for at the time. Someone that's maybe been training Hyrox for the last year and not really seeing any improvements and just doing their sleds and their burpees and they're going to a Hyrox class and like kind of that maybe repetitive sort of training style, and they're not quite getting the PB they want or the gains that they want. It's quite a good way of saying, well, like, mix it up. Why don't you maybe try and, like, it doesn't mean you stop doing Hyrox, but why don't you maybe try and like train for a half marathon, a marathon, a triathlon, or something else to build that fitness and get you the love back for training and do something different and stimulate your body differently. And then you might actually, like you say, you get the PB just because you've got fitter. Like, it doesn't have to be doing Hyrox specifically. Yeah.
And I get it, we love it. We do love it. And if I had the time and capacity and that time, I would have probably still done like a Hyrox workout every week. I would have. But from like hours of week, I needed to be doing an intensity session on the bike. I needed to be doing a running intensity session. And then I had like 10 hours of zone 2 to do. I did not have enough time in the week to do an additional session. Would have loved to. But when you're training 12 to 14 hours a week on that, it wasn't within my capacity, and it was an absolute risk I took. And I was like, but that's the only way we're going to learn. So I was like, take the risk, like sacrifice 6 months and see what happens. And yeah, the rest paid off.
Yeah. I mean, it ties in perfectly with what Emma said about doing your zone 2 long runs, doesn't it? Like, you just got you increased your volume, which instead of intensity, which I think a lot of people just focus on intensity. If you just increase the volume but reduce the intensity, or you're a bit better with the modality, so you have your long runs, then you do your session where you have your intervals, or you have your Hyrox session where you actually push, but not every single day is the same intensity and shorter sessions. I think you've just like both summed up the same thing in from two different angles, which obviously shows that it is the right thing to do to improve your Hyrox race.
What do you mean?
No, you're so in tune, you guys.
and then Emma, from the running world, like when you did your first Hyrox, what did you think? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Were you like, why am I doing this in between my runs? Or
so do you know what I used to, the first one was Manchester. We did Manchester doubles in early 22, and I think my first instinct was, before I even started, I was like, oh, I'm going to be good at this, because at the time I was still doing a lot of CrossFit, so a lot of barbell work, like power cleans, cardio, like all that stuff. I was like, oh yeah, like, not to Disney CrossFitters, but I was like, oh yeah, of course I can do Hyrox. Yeah, I can run, I can do that, it's gonna be fine. Literally, I think it was after the ski, where I absolutely sent it, forgetting that I had another run, and not just another run, I had 7 more runs. And I looked at Claire, she's like, "You're right." And I was like, my heart rate's 190. I just need to rein it back a bit. And I think that was it. Like, I loved it. I love the fact that, especially within the doubles, that you have that communication element, that, you know, it's not you must do 500 meters and you must. It was that constant conversation, which I loved. And then I finished it, and at the time I was like, that was savage. Like, it gave me 10K energy. Like, if you've gone an all-out 10K, it's the same sort of, oh, I can kind of taste the iron in my mouth, but actually I can keep going. But I wanted to do it again. I was like, yeah, I was like, we can improve that. And that was the thing that's so funny about two of us. Like, we are both internally competitive. So when we like finished it, the first thing we were like, yeah, we could improve this. Yeah, we could improve that. So yeah, I was kind of in a space where I understood how that pushing hard felt because of CrossFit. But yeah, you never know your first Hyrox. I say it to a lot of people that I coach. I'm like, you never know your first Hyrox until you actually do it. Because they're like, oh, I'm going to be able to do that. And I'm going to be able to breathe when I go here. And I was like,
yeah, wait and see. Yeah, totally. But I think most people also have that once they finish it, they do want to do it again. It seems to be like, it's like the bug. It's a bit like the marathon bug, I think, like the same sort of thing.
You know, like the marathon bug.
yes.
Okay, and then what about from race director point of view, Claire? How is it running the race from behind the scenes, not being the competitor out on the floor?
Literally so hard. Like, every race we do, I at some point in that weekend will have a meltdown about the fact that I want to race.
Yeah.
I'm like, it's not fair. I just want to go and race. Then I'm like, you're working. Stay focused, like center, you're working. You're not allowed to race. Like, focus on your job at hand. But yeah, you get like this FOMO, but it's a great position to be in. And I think that's why, like, from my coaching experience and my ability to help other people and especially help beginners in the sport, is like, when the first waves come out, and you know, my sole responsibility at that moment in time is either me or one of the assistants to follow that wave. And you see whether it's, you know, 30 people, 50 people, however many are in that wave come through, and there's such a huge host of techniques, and you're watching and you're seeing straight away where people are breaking down, and you're able to call straight away, you know, who's went out too hot, and you can see the mistakes happening and unfolding. And it's just such an interesting place to be like, reflective of like, okay, well, if they'd done this, this would happen. And it's like almost giving me like this like magical toolbox of like, if this person is like this is the things they need to do. If this person's like this is the things they need to do. Because yeah, once you start that start line, like, I feel like everybody just forgets everything in their training from the last 12 months, 6 weeks, however long you've been training for the race. And it's just like, go catch the person in front of me. And it's like, how can we tap into that and help people be better? So I really like my job from that side more than anything, because it's very much about being on the floor and actually giving the athletes the best experience. But I get to learn a lot that allows me to then feed back to my clients and my coaching. So it's nice little like insider.
Yeah.
Yeah, it must be pretty high pressured though. Like, you must have had some incidences or like some situations where you are just feeling like, I mean, like, I think you the race director in London Olympia last year when it was like 3 day, and it was manic. And I think we got there, and this isn't even the race really, but like the clothing was like all downstairs or something, but you couldn't really get to it. And then the next day we turned up and it was upstairs, and the way you cross the track had changed, and we were like, God, like, they're so on the ball that they've actually noticed that it's quite hard to get to the clothing. And then the crossing the track wasn't great. So like, between the Saturday and the Sunday, you changed it all. And I'm just like, there's so much going on. It actually blows my mind, the amount of people that were in there, and even the spectators. Like, I just don't quite understand how you deal with it, like how you process it all. I can't even say it. I'm just like thinking back to it, thinking it's so huge, isn't it? And then how does it run so smoothly? Because like, it really does run smoothly, a bit like I'd like relate it to an Ironman. I feel like Ironmans run really smoothly and they've got it down to a T, and it feels like a great experience. And Hyrox has nailed it as well. And like, well, if you're the one responsible for it, I can't really imagine what that feels like, to be honest.
It's fun, but it's that notion of like, if something's broken, fix it and fix it fast, right? It all comes down to, you want to make sure everyone is having the best experience they can. And I think that's what's really good about the team that we have. Like, we're not a huge team, but we work really well together and we bounce ideas off each other really well together. And if we see that something isn't working, it's like, heads down, let's get it fixed, let's execute. And I think that's what makes it so successful. Like, you could just be like, oh, it'll be fine, I'll figure it out, we'll worry about it at the next event. But we don't, because we all care too much.
Yeah.
And I think not too much. Can you care too much? We all care so much. Like, really want it to just be like the best it can be all the time. And I think that's, you know, it's a young sport, so that's what's making it grow and thrive, is like all of us out here working on a passion project. And without that, it probably wouldn't be as successful as what it is, right? But that's how brands are successful, when you've got the right people shouting about them. Really
I
cool
think
about that.
I do think it shows though, because I think like you obviously all have this passion and love for the sport, and in all areas, so you do want the whole thing to go smoothly, from people turning up to people racing to afterwards. You know, I know there's been like issues and there's been problems with timings and yada yada yada, but the overall thing is that everyone wants to fix it. Like, it's not like, oh well, that happened and that's in the past now, so it doesn't matter. It's like there's this kind of proactive, like, yeah, but we want to be better, we want to keep changing, we want to keep evolving, we want to make everyone's experience better, we want to get more people involved, like we want more days of the event, but we still want it to be as good even though there's more people, if that makes sense.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it's growing, right? And we can't hide from that fact. So we've just got to keep showing up as best we can in those moments. Yeah, it's been a whirlwind, but it's been a good whirlwind. It has been a good whirlwind. Constantly learning, constantly growing, constantly developing. And I think as long as we're in that mindset, it's a good place to be.
Yeah, definitely.
And then to jumping in on the development thing, because I think you two girls are like the perfect role models for that. I know you threw yourselves into like London life. You've thrown yourself in and said yes to loads of stuff, and you're really big into like self-development and taking risks and doing. Could you like give some tips to people like about how to do? I'm sure there might be a load of people that want to do stuff but have never had the, I don't know, the opportunity, or don't want to take that risk, or you know, they don't know where to start with self-development, and maybe they'd like to, whether it's in Hyrox or running or sport, or whether it's in something else. You girls have just like, you have actually, it is pretty inspiring watching your Instagram and like how hard you work. I know it's hard work, but you do always keep trying to develop yourself and say yes to stuff to get to where you are now. Yeah, have you got anything on that, any words of wisdom?
I think for me it's that idea of, and again, I guess it drew my like, if I think very much about my why, without getting too emotional. Like, my dad died at 54, and all he did was save and save and save and put it away for a rainy day. And I'm like, God forbid that I was to die young and I wouldn't have got to my full potential. So I'm very much in that mindset of, how can I make me as myself now the best version of me, so that I can enjoy every possibility that comes my way, be open to it, be able to navigate it when it doesn't suit me. And I think it's that like, want to continually know what my limit looks like, whether that's running my 15th marathon, whether that's seeing what my Hyrox time could be, whether that's, you know, having a house with 6 dogs, 2 kids,
That sounds good.
millionaires, do you know, like all these other things. And I'm like, it's definitely something that I learned from Clare as well. It's kind of not closing off dreams just because they're dreams. I think sometimes we live a lot in reality, and it was something that I learned a lot from Clare, was like, sometimes like, oh, but I'm not sure how I'm going to get there, and I'm not sure how that's going to happen. And now, like, having been with Clare for what, 4 years now? Yeah, 4 years. Like,
double check.
Yes, check. Opening up that like idea of, okay, yeah, that's something that I want, and actually I reckon I could get there. So that's my like where it comes from. And I think in terms of actually helping people, I kind of came into this personal development a lot more through, one, therapy, but two, lots of podcasts where you're forced to hear guests speak about their backgrounds, their knowledge. A lot of psychologists. We listen a lot recently to Mel Robbins and all these other things that just to naturally keep trying to seek that betterment for yourself. Because if you can't better yourself, how are you then going to help others to better themselves as well? In a roundabout way.
Awesome.
No, very good. I think it's a very good answer, and also like, unfortunately, I think maybe all of us have lost a parent way too young, and it seems to be like more common now than not, which is very sad. But I think it does change your perspective on life a little bit, and I think we're both the same, where you have seen maybe someone put away a lot of their hard-earned money that they've worked for all their life, and then not get the opportunity to live the life they wanted, and to spend it, and to use it, and to travel the world, and to do this. Or a lot of people maybe put off the, oh, I'll go on that holiday when this happens, or I'll run that marathon when I've got more time to train. But in reality, like you say, that might not actually happen, and like, God forbid that is the case. But if you just go for it and try and make yourself better each day, doing something little, it doesn't have to be something massive, then that can kind of fulfill you in a sense as well. And I think maybe we're all have a similar mindset, which is why we kind of want to chat and help people and be in the community and bring people up and like get people involved in stuff, because you feel like that's like, you don't want people to miss out on stuff, like, and kind of keep waiting, and then that time never comes. So yeah, I totally agree with your point. I know we're on a bit of a time thing, so I'll try and not chat too much, but maybe we could touch on like the mental side, following on from that, like the mental side of training and coaching. And I'm sure you both have loads of knowledge and have got tools for like mental strength, especially marathons. And Emma, I know you've Clare, yeah, I mean, triathlon's also very mentally challenging. So how do you get past that wall, or the burpees in a Hyrox, or any of those situations?
It's funny because my mindset is definitely, when I first started, like, it was one of the main reasons I wanted to do the triathlon and one of the main reasons I wanted to do the marathon, because I was like the quitter, mentally a quitter in Hyrox, probably around lunges. So I didn't have whether it's like the mental, whether you want to call it capacity, willpower, push, whatever, to stay locked in for long enough. So I almost had like this 60-minute time cap on my mental ability to push, and anything beyond that 60 minutes, I was checked out. I was quitting. I was done. Like, the amount of times, when was it, the half marathon we did, and I literally mile 10, like,
I'm done.
But the dummy,
You're like, you can't be done yet, we've still got a little bit to go.
The dummy got thrown the other side of Hyde Park, and I to her, and I was like, no, we're gonna keep going. She was like, we're not, I'm gonna quit right now. And I was like, you are not quitting right now. And then I think it was like Britney Work Bitch came on her playlist with 800 to go, and she sprinted away from me. I was like, oh, are we?
Someone has something left in the tank.
Right, but it was totally my mind, that my body had it was fully my mind. So it's something that I've really had to work on. I say that's why I signed myself up for the triathlon, or Ironman. It's why I decided to do the marathon last year, just to put me in a position where the distance was so much further. So like trying to just push the boundaries of what I knew. And again, like bringing it back to when I said I did that race in Copenhagen, I probably PB'd it so well because, oh my God, it was a breeze. It was only 1:10. I've been sitting on the bike for 4 hours. Of like, oh, it's 1:10. I was like, this is glorious. I could do this twice. Like, this is beautiful. Like, sign me up for more of this. So it was just, for me, it was very much about that. It was very much pushing, but you helped me a lot probably on that journey, because I don't know where this girl gets her mindset from, but like 24 hours of burpees, breaking our foot on hour 18 and
What?
continuing for 6 hours on a broken foot, or like doing 4 marathons in 4 weeks and just deciding to run an ultra on the last week because you wanted to see if you could run an ultra. Like,
Sounds a bit crazy, doesn't it?
it's like we balance each other out for sure. But yeah, I think you're probably more the one to speak on like how to actually get there, because for me it was just a lot of her shouting at me and telling me stuff I couldn't get done. And like I know a lot of people don't have that, but like I would have quit on a lot of occasions had she not been standing there and been like, why move? There's nothing wrong with you. Like
Yeah.
you are fit enough, so keep moving. Do you know? It got dark.
So what do you say to yourself, Emma? Or what do you say, shout at Clare? Like why keep moving? Where does it come from?
I think it's, so as she mentioned, the burpees, that was a big turning point mentally for me. So I did that back in 2018. And yeah, it was, as it sounds, 24 hours of burpees. And I trained for it and kind of built myself up to it. But basically going into that, and this is a game plan which I share with a lot of people in terms of how you can take on things. So it's 24 hours, sure, but actually it's an hour at a time. And within an hour, you've got 10-minute segments. So within each 10-minute segment of an hour, my goal was 50 burpees from the outset. So I was like, cool, 50 burpees, whatever is left of that 10 minutes, you can rest. So the early stages, I was like very comfortably going through. We clocked past probably, it sounds weird to say, but I got to probably about 10 hours and I was like, I'm okay. Like I can do this. Like I'm ticking through. And then it was like, so I started at 6 p.m. in the evening. So that like 10 hours sort of got me to about that like 4 a.m. part. And that was when the demon spoke so loud. And I was like, you've got a choice here, whether to quit and be annoyed at yourself for quitting because you know that you're strong enough, you know your body can. And I think it, for me, on the floor when I did the burpees, I actually knew Faisal back then, way back then when he was doing diaries. So I had PMA, literally the letters PMA and the words, yes, you can. And that was in front of me for every single rep. So when I wanted to quit, I was like, no, yes, you can do that. And it was just that methodical, I'm not thinking about the next 12 hours. I'm thinking about how can I get to the end of this next 10 burpees? How can I get to the end of this 50 so I can rest, refuel, reset my mind and go again? And I take that into the marathon. So I talk to all my clients about how you're running a fatigued 6-mile race. Sure, there's 20 miles before that, but even when I come to the start line of a marathon, I don't think that I'm running a marathon. I go, cool, we're running to 3 miles and you're running to 3 miles controlled. Then once I hit 3 miles, I take on my gels and I'm there. I'm like, great, now I've got to run to 10K. And then once I'm there, I run to 10 miles and I'm like, great, you're halfway to 20 miles. So in terms of how to combat the mental thing, I think positive reinforcement as quickly as you can, whether that's after each run on Hyrox. Yep, nailed that run. Strong work, right, into the station. Let's focus on the station. How can I be efficient? How can I move well? One length, great, nailed it. Love that. One more and I'm halfway. And just that constant like voice in your head that is telling you you're doing good things, because we as humans are naturally so negative to ourselves. And it's one thing I love about us. We always catch each other when we're speaking really poorly to ourselves, because who else is going to pick you up? So you have to try and flip that switch to be like, hey, no, I can do this. I'm great at this. Like I'm here for a reason. I'm doing a good job. So having that constant positive reinforcement, if you do that for an hour, you're like, I'm epic. I can do great. Like,
oh, I feel pumped now. I'm like, fucking hell, I just want to go. Like, literally, that's got me so pumped up. That was like a motivational speech. I need that on record to listen to before I do a race.
Interval session, get out
I know. Fuck. You need to like record that so people can listen to it while they're warming up.
yeah.
Just saying.
That, and it's just like you have to be your own cheerleader. And like there's nothing, I think there's such a, especially for women, there's a societal thing about like saying that you're good at something or like bigging yourself up. But like you really are unreal to be on the start line of Hyrox and taking on this challenge for yourself with your partner. Like it's an incredible thing that you've decided to go ahead and do. So drilling, I think, yeah, that's my big positive thing, is drilling positivity. Because let me tell you, when I get to 20 miles, am I feeling positive? No. But do I lie to myself and say, we're feeling great, you've nailed this, you've got it in the tank, you've taken on the fuel, you can run down that next 3 miles, and then guess what? There's 3 miles to go. And it's that mind game, which is another, like, I guess, little quick added side note, is I play those games with myself. So when I'm doing a Hyrox, I'm like, okay, ski done, great. Now I've got to go to the sleds. 2 stations and the sleds will be out the way, and then I'll be 1 station till it's halfway. Yeah, I don't think like, oh, it's it's 8 stations. I literally can break up 8 as many times as you want. Up 16 times, sure. Can I break it up lap at a time? Absolutely. Can I give myself a pat on the back for every single breakup moment I do? Yes, I can. So it's just, I think, chunking manageable amounts of any workout, whatever it is, and speaking to yourself positively.
Yeah, I actually love it. I think that is like the best answer we have ever had to mental strength. Like,
yeah, no, yeah, 100%. People are like, chunk it down. I'm like, yeah, take it bit by bit. But I don't think anyone's been so passionate and broken it down like that. Like, I literally just wish I'd trained this afternoon now instead of this morning, because I was not motivated at all this morning. Now I'm ready to go.
It's easy though. This is what people think. They're like, oh, but you do the mic. Yeah, so that must be easy when you say those things. It's not. You have to literally fight yourself. And like, when I say it's Claire, I'm like, you can do this. Yeah, but it's so hard. I can't. Yes, you can. You have to just fight that little devil on the shoulder that's having that chin wag, and you're like, no.
Yeah, you do. And everyone will relate, because everyone literally has that, doing their Hyrox race, their 10K, their marathon, whatever it is. But everyone has those moments of, no, I can't, or just take a rest, or just stop, or just walk, or oh no, it's not your day today. Like, I feel like that comes into my head. Oh, it's not your day today. I'm like, that's such a stupid thing to say. Like, why is it not your day? Like, I totally agree with you. Totally agree. Right, I am aware of timing. Is there anything else you quickly want to cover, Faye or Emma, Claire, before we go on to the cheeky insights?
No, I mean, like, guys, like, I guess if we can't fit the cheeky insights in, we can do a quick fire round. But like, is there anything, like, what's the future look for you guys? Like, where can people find stuff? Like, you know, coaching wise, like, get it all out there. Because
do you have a race as well? Do you have a race, another Hyrox planned, or not in the diary? Or
yeah, so the plan is Glasgow, because I've not actually been to Glasgow yet. So the plan right now is, have you?
Yeah, I'm doing Glasgow. I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Whoopsie.
But you're gonna be great. You're gonna be great.
You're gonna be great.
Awesome. You're gonna be great.
Yeah. So the plan is Glasgow. I think I'm just gonna race open. I think that was what the ticket I got. I couldn't decide between open and pro. I'm feeling an open race right now. I'm not gonna put that pressure on myself. So yeah, we're gonna do open, and then we've got a really busy April into May.
Crazy.
So we're running Lake Garda half marathon again in April, which is amazing.
Nice.
Stunning.
Such a stunning race. So we've got that first week in April, and then we're flying out to Sharjah. I'm going to do a race with my best friend, so getting her into Hyrox, which will be fun. Just be a fun doubles. My first time doing doubles was, well, apart from my very first ever race, but we've not done doubles not together in such a long time, so I'm sure it'll be feeling left.
You'll have to shout at your mate, or she can shout at you, but
I'll be on the sidelines. I'll be coach.
Oh, okay, that's fine. Good.
Good fun. But yeah, nothing major planned. I want to probably try and get a pro race in this season. But yeah, trying to not put the pressure on it. I feel like once I've locked in a race and put the pressure on it, I immediately start to doubt everything I can do. And just because like business is going really well right now with everything with the race directing, and there's so many plates spinning, and I'm trying to just be like, you can't dominate everything at the same time. That's possible. So like try to have some races for fun, and really take the pressure off is the kind of goal right now, just to enjoy it more.
Yeah, and then it's still over like a 90% certainty I'm running London Marathon, which will be cool. Love that race, one of the best in the world, in my opinion. Yeah. And then I've got Valencia Marathon back end of the year, so December.
Oh wow.
So way back. So it's not 5 marathons like last year, because that was just too much. That was a lot.
In like a very confined space.
Yeah, really short space of time.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then it's as Claire said, it's kind of a lot more supporting clients. To say I've got quite a few first-time marathon runners right now going through their like stressful period of I don't know what's going on. So yeah, just focusing on looking after other people, and then trying to keep ourselves ticking over.
Yeah, nice. And are you working Glasgow, Clare, as well as racing, or are you just
Yeah, I'm gonna work.
Yeah, doing
Work
both.
on race, which will be the first time I've done it this way. So again, like it's going to be a learning experience. I've started doing my intervals on the last day of an event. So like I've been, I know, life choice, but basically been working like 3-4 day events. And on the last morning or the last evening, depending upon which way I've been doing my interval session, just to see what it feels like under absolute fatigue. It's not been fun. I can confirm it's not been fun. But it's just to try and like get my body used to that feeling of like racing and working, because if I want to do it, like I want to be able to do both. So yeah, just trying to adapt the body right now.
Yeah.
If I race Glasgow, it's went well. If I don't race Glasgow, it was not going well.
Let's see how tough the weekend is and whether everything goes really smooth or whether you had to put out too many fires.
Yeah, exactly.
I think like let's leave the cheeky insights because we haven't got enough time today, but we can hopefully get you on in the future and we'll nail them that time with a bit more time. But where can everyone find you? Like if people want to come and like work with you girls or like follow your journeys, like I think it's important to get out where everyone can find you, and we'll obviously share it when we put the podcast out.
Yeah, so we're both on Instagram.
Indeed.
I was gonna say both our names. Yours is technically not your name.
It's technically not my name. It's Emma Kirk-O. My uni name was Kirky, so I've just like kept the nostalgia there, you see. But yeah, at Emma Kirk-O is me on Insta and actually across pretty much everything else.
Yeah, and I'm at Clare_Rafferty. And yeah, we're pretty much, Instagram's the only place we really are. I do email marketing, so good old email list. You can get some different tips and stuff from that. And subscription on my website, but it's all there on Instagram for people to sign up to coaching applications. Try to give out as much tips as we can. So I've got some free run plans, got a free confidence builder, which is very much more around the mindset stuff and actually building that mindset for race. I've also got some other kind of tools, fueling plans and stuff like that there. So there's lots to be had. If anyone does need anything specific, always say reach out to me in the DMs and we can hook you up with something.
Yeah, absolutely. And is there any spaces left, or is your training camp all full sorted, done?
Yeah, so the one in October sold out super quick, so we're looking at doing maybe a day camp in London over summertime. We just need to lock in the logistics of that, maybe July time, which is not the most convenient for some people, but then is for others. So I think that's why hit a different group. So yeah, we're hopefully going to do that in July, central London somewhere.
Yeah.
We'll get dates out for that soon. But yeah,
nice.
On to next year now. God, planning 2026 already.
God,
oh wow,
crazy.
It's only February. I think that who said it the other day when our friends were like, "Oh, it's been a tough year so far," and Em was like, "It's only February." Literally, we're in the second month.
It's been nice though. It's been really big. Like
It's been wild.
February.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for your time and your knowledge and sharing everything with us. Like, we really appreciate it. I'm sure everyone listening has really appreciated it and can take a lot away from the episode. They can follow you. We'll put everything in the show notes, all about all the training and Instagrams and etc. And we will see everyone on the next episode. Thank you for listening.